listen.
Welcome to Nintendo Voice Chat for the week of November 3rd, 2016. I am your host, Jose Otero, and this is IGN's Nintendo Show. We have a lot of props on the table if you're watching the video. But
Which you should be.
But before we get to those, joining us this week, Callie Pleggy.
Hello.
Brian Altano.
Rap.
And Per Schneider.
Hello.
So this week's episode's agenda is a little muddled. I have to come out and apologize because we've been a little busy, so I haven't had a ton of time to plan the show. But some things happened this week that we should talk about. The first one being Animal Crossing got updated. The big sort of update that Nintendo had talked about for the game, which, you know, awkwardly 3 years later they had to talk about. They finally showed what's in it, so we're going to spend some time on that. We got the NES Classic Edition in yesterday. We're going to spend some time talking about that. And after that, we're probably going to end because, yeah, this has just been a crazy week in the office. So apologies up front if you were expecting a meteor.
You should apologize after we screw it up. This could be the most amazing episode ever.
It might be, or it might be one of the more argument-filled ones we've had in a while. So let's start with
nice.
Animal Crossing New Leaf, which just got an update.
Hate it. It's the worst. No, I'm just kidding. I love that game.
Just got an update this week. Nintendo announced it via Nintendo Direct. It was a 15-minute video for the US and Europe. In Japan, they also put some details about a new game that they're planning to sell over there called Miitopia, which is this weird RPG starring Miis that's also very stylish and strange. Hopefully it comes out over here. But the focus we want to talk about is this Welcome Amiibo update. Mm-hmm. So if you haven't been keeping up, the quick synopsis is December 2nd, Nintendo's rolling out like 50 more Amiibo cards as part of another series. These are focused on mobile homes. These are brand new characters for Animal Crossing, and they can be played with this update because this update enables Amiibo support in the game itself. Now, we should start talking about how they rolled this out. So let's talk about the Direct first, which is quite honestly one of the most bizarre presentations I have ever seen from Nintendo.
I loved it.
That's saying a lot.
I thought it was great.
Did you love it as in I'm really enjoying watching this, or in kind of more of a type of way?
50-50, both of those things.
Yeah.
For those who are listening at home, Per made a face where one of his eyes went much lower and the other one went much higher, which is confusing.
Creepy.
No, I loved it. I think first of all, it's a nice surprise that this is even a thing that they did in 2016 to just sort of be like, here's a massive update for a game that came out, 3 or 4 years ago?
3 years ago.
3 years ago?
That's amazing.
It's kind of amazing. It's very uncharacteristic of Nintendo specifically. The long tail on their games is usually, I mean, look at Smash Brothers, right? It was like a year and a half. Mario Kart had some DLC.
Well, and in those cases, it was immediate. Like, that's
Yeah.
a good point to bring up. Like, Fire Emblem, Animal Crossing is coming 3 years after the fact, whereas Fire Emblem, Smash Brothers, as you said, like, all of those games got updates right away. Mario Kart was the exception.
Yeah.
6 months later, you're getting this, and 6 months after that, you're getting this thing. And that's it. It wasn't exactly that
We
time.
saw some stuff trickle out for, like, Mario Kart, you know, and I know that, or for Mario Maker, and we also, like, for
Splatoon. Big one.
Yeah. And I know Animal Crossing in the past, they've sort of been like, oh, like, here's a new hat for
They're
Christmas,
timed events, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that
yeah.
whole
Yeah.
game was designed to keep you playing to see what would happen on
Yeah.
a certain day. But, you know, many players, of course, run out of stuff to do or kind of fall out of love with the kind of the stuff that was in there. That's why, I mean, this was such a huge surprise that they did this, right? I mean, we obviously heard about it for a while now, but the fact that they update a game this late instead of focusing on promoting the next one or whatever is coming down the pike is really surprising.
I agree
Our
with that.
viewpoints differ a little bit on how they rolled it out because I didn't watch the Direct until you told me you have to see it because it's so freaking weird.
And then I showed it to you, and you saw the intro.
So I played the game. I was traveling actually, and I downloaded the latest version and I booted it up and I started playing before I'd seen any of the kind of detailed announcements.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think my experience was a little different, where I was just like, I started off, right? I get to my town, I get this quick intro, and it's like, oh goody, there's now another currency on top of the currency and the other currency that you use to trade, and you can use it to buy yourself new items. And my initial reaction though, Jose, was...
Okay, but I want to pull this back to, so the Nintendo strategy for this was update the website, put out this video telling people what's in it, and if you didn't go to either place, you didn't get that information because the game itself doesn't do a spectacular job of telling you these things.
Well, that's what I was just going to say, right?
Like, that's what I'm saying.
Before you pulled it back to the marketing angle, it's like, I'm updating this game. I think it's really awesome. Surprised by it, you know, like it. Start playing, and I quickly realized, like, oh wait, I stopped playing not because I couldn't buy any more items for my house, or I couldn't redecorate. And like, I know everybody's reason for stopping to play is different, right? Like, this is just me. I stopped playing because I felt like I'd done everything. So I walk around in this world. I'm like, oh, cool, there are campgrounds, and I can see like using Amiibo is going to do some new stuff. But then I walk around, I find Donald Duck on the beach again, and Donald Duck says, oh, I forgot where I went. Is it Indonesia? And like, I'm like, oh, okay, I've done all this.
He's an alcoholic pear. That's
Right?
his problem. He
Yeah,
drinks
poor
too
Donald
much and he
Duck.
washes up on the shore.
Sure.
But what I think is a little bit of a missed opportunity if I hadn't then gone and watched the video and said, oh my God, that's like a whole puzzle league game, an island survival game, and all these things, and there's like a goal for you to discover new stuff, I would have been like, you know what, maybe not. I'll move on. I have other things to play.
Isn't the point of Animal Crossing the slow burn, though? Like, isn't the point to
But I
continue
burned.
to
There's
discover
ashes. I burned for 3
But they're
years.
not trying to get you to buy something new. This is a free update.
Yeah.
It's not like they need to sell it to you. This is for the people who want to continue to discover those same things that they did the first time playing Animal Crossing. And if you don't have the incentive to do that, someone else can tell you, oh, there's this cool thing. After a couple days, I unlocked this.
That's true, but
Word of mouth
if
travels.
you are but if you are the kind of player who's immersed himself or herself in this game and played all this stuff, like I was expecting the onboarding to be a little more clever, where you get in and it dangles this kind of like
Sure.
says, by the way, there's this new island mode, and you need to find this thing, and suddenly you create this mystery and this reason for exploring. I just felt like that fell a little bit flat for such a major update.
But I don't think Animal
for
Crossing
a game
has
that,
ever. Not to cut you off.
No,
but
it is not. It's not.
No, but
I know.
The series has never been about dangling mysteries in front of you. It's kind of like you find these things, but it sets up that fundamental problem of then how do you communicate to people who are opening this game for the first time?
That's
who
it.
Didn't watch the direct. That these things are in here, and I think that you're absolutely right to point out those challenges. But
my argument is
Yeah.
it's not like I totally understand what Animal Crossing is, and I love
Yeah.
the discovery. I did that.
Yeah.
I did that, and this is, by the way, I've played Animal Crossing since the N64, right?
Yeah.
Like, I've played all these games. I get what it's about, and I love that discovery that on, Thanksgiving you get, like, Turkey Day, all this kind of stuff. It's cool.
Yeah, the holidays.
And so when an update comes, I just feel like they're playing it so safe and letting you kind of believe that there's something major, right? Like, if you had walked around and immediately you meet like these new characters in town everywhere, and you're like, whoa, something's really changed, I'd be like, all right, I got to play this again tomorrow. Right now, I stopped playing and I actually played Box Boy,
Yeah.
right? Because I'm like, well, I just helped Donald Duck get back to Indonesia. I'm done for now,
Yep,
right?
yep.
Yeah.
And that I feel that's a little bit of a pity, because unlike other DLC where you boot up Mario Kart and you get all these new tracks and you instantly get what it is, it was a little hidden, and it relies obviously on the direct for
Okay,
the
so
marketing.
because I'll meet you halfway on this, because first of all, I actually really enjoyed the direct, but second of all, the second I started downloading the DLC and like navigating my way through town, I actually came over to Jose and had a conversation with him at his
Yep.
desk with my 3DS standing there. Not everybody has that option. I also went on IGN's wiki, which is really awesome. They've been updating it like crazy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Finding it, the discoverability aspect, a little bit obtuse. It's very strange. In many ways, Animal Crossing's always kind of been that way, though. Like, it is about like you kind of have to connect with other people and look up wikis and stuff like that. Like, try to get a golden shovel in any game without reading about how to do it. It's just
Yeah.
weird. It doesn't
Yeah,
work.
you set your own goals.
Yeah.
in those
But
games.
I
That's it.
I love those mysteries when you're starting a
Yeah.
new game. It's like when I'm returning to a game that has iterated, right? It hasn't revolutionized or reinvented itself.
So did you want like a splash screen? Because I know like Smash Brothers used to do that kind of stuff where they'd be like, here's a new update.
Yeah.
Now available is this, and this, and this. Like most console games do that now, especially the ones that update automatically. They'll be like, added this, not necessarily patch notes, but even...
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
think the communities that care ultimately band together to share information too, and I think we're kind of overlooking that here. Like, marketing aside and the mistake aside of just relying on those two things, I do think that the community tends, like what you did when you came over to talk to me, and how did I get those answers? I went and found them somewhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah, and look, I know that life will find a way, right? Like I get it.
No.
I get it. But it is an unusual move to update a game that was a long tail game.
But we've
right?
joked-
It's not.
yeah.
That wasn't a quick burn. Like you burned through like Shovel Knight and there's a new set of levels. This was
Cynically,
a long
on this show,
game.
we've called that update the Amiibo retail rescue plan, because
Yeah,
when you
it's
walk
more.
into stores, the story is there for itself. Like, walk into Best Buy, walk into Toys R Us, it's flooded with
Yeah.
Animal Crossing stuff.
Why?
And this is a franchise because the
Everybody
two
knows
games-
the skunk with the hat.
Well, it's not just that.
Kicks.
I know who.
the two games they tied to Animal
And
Crossing.
Plaggy and Callie. And wait, these aren't even
Yeah,
from
I'll wait
Animal
till you're done.
Crossing.
The two games they tied to those products were not good games. Well, one of them was okay. Like Happy Home Designer is pretty fun, but not on New Leaf level.
Yeah.
I mean, you reviewed these.
I
like, and then-
reviewed.
yeah.
I reviewed both of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Happy Home Designer, I quite liked. I thought it was really great not really great. I thought it was good for what it was. And it satisfied all the problems I had with decorating in New Leaf. I mean, it's obviously a very different game. I don't think you can compare them directly because the goal there is different. I thought Amiibo Festival was just such a snooze fest. I was so bored.
It was a board game where they're explaining the rules to you over and over and over.
But what I do like about the update to New Leaf is they're adding some of the fun, like one of the fun mini games is one of the mini games you get in New Leaf now is the island escape one, which I quite enjoyed. It had this like Sellers of Catan vibe. Everything was like hexagonal and it was this little bit of strategy. And I like that they kind of repurposed something that didn't work very well into something that did. But that being said,
I agree with all of that. It's just, but let the player know, and don't risk that the player walks around town, finds out their mailbox is full, finds out that they have to throw away all their letters, talks to all the animals to say, hey, I haven't seen you in 3 years. What do you want to do? Talk to you, and then you get the same thing. You're like, oh yeah, I remember him saying this, right? Like that to me is the risk when you're making a change like that. And I want to make sure that this doesn't sound completely negative. I think it's really awesome. No, it's awesome that
really on negative side on this one.
they updated this game with free content this late in the game. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
What I'm frustrated by is like then give it a little thought on how you draw the player back in.
Sure.
No, I totally agree with you. I think that like once you like you said, once you get in and you're like, oh, I'm back in Animal Crossing. This is really cool. And I should preface this real quick. Earlier in the year, when I started flying back and forth back to the East Coast a lot to see my family, I restarted Animal Crossing and I built a new home and I got a full size base and then a upstairs and a downstairs, and then I kind of drifted away, played some other stuff. So I'm actually fresher with Animal Crossing than probably anybody else in this room, just because I probably put 20 hours into it this year.
Gotcha.
Whereas a lot of people didn't. So when I came back, it wasn't as much of a John Carpenter movie set as it usually is. When you don't play Animal Crossing for a while.
They clean it up for you.
Yeah.
I lost my save, so
Same thing happened to me.
I'm really, really happy about the update because it's giving me an excuse to play and not feel like no one else is playing. I'm just playing by myself. Now a lot of people I know are playing, and so I get to finally remake a town and also play in Japanese, and it's going to be a good time. But I do agree that, so I'm like really excited about it, and so I didn't think about the marketing as much, but I do agree that it is a little bit of a problem where if nobody had told me about those new features, I wouldn't have been as excited to jump back in.
Well, and you have a goal, right? I'm by the way, I'm more of a goal gamer. I'm more of a story completion gamer. I'm not.
Oh, then you'll love Animal Crossing.
No, but I'm not a collection gamer.
They gave you goals now.
I am okay not getting platinum trophies on games and all that kind of stuff. And I know there are people who feel very differently, and so it becomes a much different game for them with that meta game. So in your case though, you're starting fresh and you're like, you have a goal, right? Like you hate your tiny little house and you want to make it big. I came home, it's like this giant freaking mansion. I've got my own design wallpapers. One looks like a starry sky and it's got the moon rover. I've got a little chamber with the Metroid held in captivity.
Yeah, I love that.
All
It's the only
stuff.
thing in that room, by the way. That's the most charming thing. What happened to me when I booted up this update is that I realized, yes, just like you, some of this felt like chores, and so it feels like I have to do a lot of catching up to be reminded, where's this? What was I last working towards? Or do I just want to start something over? For example, like one of the things in the update they give you is this like secret storage space. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. One of the bigger gripes of Animal Crossing is that you don't have deep pockets. You have like, I don't know, probably 20 slots to keep the items that you have on you. And if you find extra, you have to put one down in the world, which looks ugly depending on your neurosis and if you're like obsessive compulsive like sometimes I can be. But it turns into, okay, well, I want to go get that update. And I figured out, well, I should probably go to Nook's Homes because that's where home upgrades happen. And it turns out that's where. He sends you a letter that says, hey, come see me for this. And I'm like, oh, that's dope. So they're giving me a direction. There's a seed here. Follow it. He's like, yeah, we can give you the update. He's like, but you need to finish paying off your loan. And I still owe like $400,000.
Wait a minute, before you get a bigger inventory?
Yeah, so you have to clear your debt before he'll give it to you. And I'm just like,
wait, when was the last time you played Animal Crossing before this? Like a year?
I've turned it on or off within the last year, maybe 2 or 3 times.
See,
like,
this is what I don't understand about the economy in that game. If that dude was running a shop in town, there'd be a sale sign up everywhere. He'd be like, we haven't had customers in 2 years. This is ridiculous.
Well, the other animals are still there.
Yeah.
The story of Animal Crossing is the ennui of the capitalist lifestyle.
Yeah.
It's actually the secret.
Keeping up with the Altanos.
Yeah.
And I don't agree that the other animals are bringing money to that dude because look at their homes.
They got tiny homes.
they got tiny homes.
Yeah.
Unless they're getting price
but-
gouged.
So that's
Sometimes-
that's the kind of discovery I like, right? Like you get the letter and you're being led
and
to
there
discover
is some
something.
of that.
I like that.
I saw Sam walking around, and he couldn't find you need a special genie in order to. So we haven't detailed the update, and we're going to do that in a second. I promise. If you're still here, but with the Amiibo update, you need a genie lamp in order to scan these Amiibo in, and basically you're inviting these characters to your town. But the lamp doesn't show up the minute you boot it up. It's something it's an automatic event that happens as you're walking around. Now you don't know that, so you're walking around and. Unless you hear this voice just come out and talk to you like God.
I played it
you
3
won't do
times.
it.
I haven't seen the genie lamp,
And you
just so
haven't
you know,
seen it
on my version.
Yeah, and I've just been pushing the clock forward a day, and I did that once. Walked in the house, walked out, and then it happened.
Blasphemy.
Going to hell.
I hate doing that too.
You're going to
I hate
Tanuki hell.
Let me tell you something.
What? I time travel like crazy in that
Yeah.
game. I don't care.
I'm
You're
totally
100%
kidding.
right.
I time travel a lot. But if I want to be honest with myself and I'm building a new town, I don't.
I even used action replay on the GameCube version so I could go swimming in the water.
I did that too.
Hell yeah!
Holy
I don't
cow.
care.
Nice.
Break the law in the Animal Crossing. There's
I'm not
no
going to
cops.
break the law for much longer,
There's one
but
cop.
that's
There's
part of
two
the struggle
cops.
that I agree with you.
There are 2 cops.
That's part of the struggle that I agree with you as part of the game as a whole, right? Like it's just like finding that stuff can be difficult. I like the letters thing though. I think it's a smart move. But other than that, let's detail what's in the update. So you have Amiibo support. You have support for every figure, every card. New cards coming. Big surprise.
every
Animal Crossing
figure
Amiibo
plus-
figure or card. Now they went ahead and picked 2 more series to be a part of this: Zelda and Splatoon.
Yeah.
Figures work with it. So you can scan them in and get items based on those. I know you took a little bit of issue with that.
No, I
pair
just
as well.
think it was more about like why those two, right? Like if
Well-
the idea of Amiibo is work across games, it would have been awesome to have support for all of them, even like just unlocking small things. It just seemed really random to do Splatoon and Zelda.
I think it's like 2 of the sets that they've made the most characters for, and I think there's been Mario items in there for the longest time. And to be fair, there's been a few Zelda items since the GameCube
And
version.
they got a Zelda
Yeah.
game coming. They want to promote. I don't know if you
That's-
heard.
Yeah, but it's
That's what I was going to say. Is it's Splatoon. You want to maintain a player base because it's a multiplayer game. You have to keep that up for it to be relevant.
Yeah.
And then for Zelda, they're leaning into the future.
But you can
and-
say that about Mario Kart and Smash Brothers,
But-
right? Like
but,
that's
like-
why I'm like I'm not complaining. I think it's awesome that it adds.
You were
2
complaining
additional...
this morning.
No,
Hang on.
I was,
hang on.
But wait, what other
I
Mario?
was complaining. I like intuitive things. I really like. I'm the kind of person who loves intuition and smart UI and UX design. I'm like, all right, it supports what? It supports the Animal Crossing amiibo. That makes sense. Finally, there's a reason to own them, maybe. And then it has Zelda and Splatoon. It's like, what? Okay. It's just
I
weird.
think
Why
Nintendo's
not
been.
Rob?
You can make the
He's
argument
in the game.
that
Unlock, boom.
I'm giving you a minute. You can make the argument that Nintendo's been trying to pull more crossovers in the franchises they have.
Yep.
Mario Maker's an example of that. Smash Brothers is
Yeah.
the perfect example of that.
Mario Maker was really well done.
Yeah, and for the most part, Animal Crossing has been that sometimes. So now that that's out of the way, there are 2 mini games in the game. Callie mentioned one of them, Desert Island Escape.
Yeah.
The other is Animal Crossing Puzzle League, which is I think the 4th time Nintendo has rebranded Puzzle League. Because there was a Pokemon Puzzle League, there
so
was
excited
Planet
about
Puzzle
this.
League.
Yeah.
I can't remember the one in between or after. I think there was a Yoshi one. But now Animal Crossing gets
Yep.
a turn.
Love
That's fine.
Puzzle
Love
League.
Puzzle League. It's
Yeah,
fantastic.
it's really good.
Then there's a new area called Harvey's RV Campground. You'll basically find up to 2 RVs there. One is an Amiibo that you invite into the game, and you can buy anything you find in there with a new currency called Meow coupons. Now we're going too deep down the rabbit hole because I
Do you want to explain what Meow coupons
You
stand
can
for?
go to a
Mutual-
cat terminal.
Mutual exchange of wealth.
There we go.
Is what
Yeah, and then
Meow stands for.
Cat is what coupon something terminal.
yeah.
It's fun. It's funny stuff.
Cute. It's
yeah,
always
no,
the-
like
the
they're very
cute
creative.
localization.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Harvey introduces
And crazy.
himself by saying it's Har for short or Har for long. And I thought that was really
He's a great character, by the way.
I like him a lot.
He's this like
He's
I don't
a
know,
fan.
What if you
legally medicated hippie dog. He's kind of great. I'm
And
a
if you
big fan.
invite Ganon into your town, he's not used to having visitors over. Well, what they did with Zelda is hilarious, by the way, because Ganon seems very insecure and angry all the time.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Wolf Link, when you invite him in, every new character has a little bio on the bottom of the screen. It's like, oh, he used to not talk much, but lately he's been opening up. By the way, don't ask him about his past. And Wolf Link is just like, I'm the biggest thing in town, and look at me. And it's just everything you didn't want Link to say.
Let's be clear real quick though. These guys they basically come into town in an RV.
Yeah.
Which I like. Let's pause for a second here. How far down the rabbit hole are we in Nintendo lore that, like, okay, a couple years ago they made Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess, a game where you can go into the Nether Realm and become a wolf. That wolf can now be, as a toy, scanned into Animal Crossing, where he will show up in a car that he might live in, that he opens up and he sells you his weird, like, garage sale stuff and talks to you. It's so bizarre. I love it so much.
Yeah.
But he does not move into your town or anything like that.
Yeah.
What?
I got him in my town. Yeah, if you ask him to move in and you have a slot open, he will. If not, I think I asked Epona to move in. She's like, well, your town's full, according to that little blonde lady that I talked to. And I'm like,
Kick her out.
No. She says, would you suggest someone to move out? And then you can pick.
That's how you get the person you hate out of your town.
Yeah, you don't have to hit him with a net. Wasn't that the way people used to do it?
Yeah,
Just hit
I have
him with
this
nets
lion
going
there
out?
now that I've been planting garbage on his front lawn for like 2 years.
You put garbage outside of their house and you hit them with a net, an axe, or a shovel.
Yep.
That'll send the message.
I also mail him trash every single day.
Yeah, you mail them trash.
I'm starting to believe more and more that you guys think this is real life.
No, but
It's
when
not.
you talk about it, it sounds ridiculous.
Excuse you, Freckles and I are best friends.
Yeah, and I hate that lion, so I
feel
want that
so
horse
bad.
to move in.
I will never say
That's so
anything
cool. I
bad
didn't know
about
that.
Animal Crossing.
Yeah.
So wait, I could have Wolf Link, Epona, and Ganon all moved to my town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
really
but they
cool.
might move out because of Street Pass. Like, I don't know if how long they'll stay.
But I can
saying.
just
then
scan
you
them in,
can
get it
scan
back.
them
I
again.
think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Welcome to my hell. You can never leave.
Yeah, there you go.
Welcome to Best Friends Island.
So let's see. So new currency, new items, a lot of new stuff overall. But I agree with Pear that it's mostly the things you get and the capitalism of like Animal Crossing's world, or the consumerism of.
One thing I did
Animal
notice is that the new Zelda set is super cool. It's all 8-bit based. Have you guys seen it?
Yep.
It's really awesome. It looks like the overworld from the original Legend of Zelda for NES. But then there's also the tunic from Breath of the Wild, Heroes clothes or whatever they're calling it, and then the hero's wig. There's no blue hat or anything there, but you can also get the original Legend of Zelda like costume, which is like you saw in the drawing and the packaging and stuff like that.
To the side.
The orange and green,
yeah.
and it's adorable. Like I unlocked it for my character, and he's got aviators on, so I'm super happy about that. The whole thing's really cool. But I did notice that you can actually get some of that stuff through fortune cookies now too. Did you see that?
Yeah. So fortune cookies will give you the consoles as well. Clearly, this was more of an update, more to this game than we thought it would be.
Yeah.
Like, we thought it would be something simple and just amiibo, and they went the extra mile. The big positive for me from all this, whether or not it's communicating itself well or not, is that this to me signals that the next Animal Crossing is absolutely going to get regular updates from these guys.
Yeah.
They're going to be thinking more proactively about it. I think it's kind of sad to admit that in 2013, Nintendo didn't have a DLC plan together for a game like Animal Crossing. It was just a game that got shipped the way games always got shipped, and it's a huge game. Like, it's not on par with what you would say like a smaller like linear game is like. But no one thought to do this then. And then they put out Happy Home Designer, and they did not, like, there's a couple of items you can get, but they didn't really pursue that one really well. And it makes you wonder, were they waiting for it to do better? Did it not perform to their expectations? Because it doesn't really get mentioned as much, although it's sold decently.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's a long one, but I'm
No,
just
it's
putting out
fine.
there, like, this is all part of what this is to me. To me, this is, hey, Animal Crossing NX, you're going to get these updates, and we're not going to wait 3 years to freaking do this.
It kind of feels like they tucked a lot of ideas that I think historically they would have folded into a sequel, just into this update for free.
Yeah, like the Happy Home Designer interfaces in the game. You have to take a course to unlock it, but that's another thing you
Like,
get.
thank goodness.
Right?
Now I have everything I could possibly want.
Yeah, I mean, and can we geek out real quick about how there's playable consoles and handhelds in Animal Crossing?
I'm glad
It's like
you
the
brought that up.
GameCube version.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of my favorite things about the GameCube version was sort of like going to the island and digging up Wario's woods and being like, that's not a great game, but it's so cool. Like my apartment or my home in the GameCube version was just like rows and rows of NES games. And it was, my ground floor was an arcade.
That was the big motivator for me, right? Like
Yeah.
that's the kind of collection aspect I got behind, where I'm like, I want to get all these NES games, and
Well-
you could play them, which was freaking awesome. awesome.
I didn't ever own an NES, so as a kid, it was like such a great opportunity for me to play those games. Like it meant so much to me to find them and be like, I can play Ice Climbers finally. Like I've been playing Melee. You can play as the Ice Climbers. I don't know where they're from or who they are, and then I get Ice Climbers in Animal Crossing on the GameCube, and it's like. This introduced me to a whole world that I missed out on because I'm young.
It was really cool how they communicated like that too.
Yeah, no, and that was a really big moment, I feel, at least at the period when that game came to the States, because you hadn't seen that kind of nod back to like the prior generations of any sort of company that was making games at the time.
Only Donkey Kong 64, like you know,
you could also
there were little nods like this, but not in a major way like
or Donkey
this.
Kong. You're talking about Donkey Kong 98?
No, in 64 you could unlock.
You
Donkey
could play
Kong.
the original
that's
Donkey
right.
Kong, and it's the only version of that game that's ever been ported to Nintendo consoles up until like 2 years ago that actually had the Pie
Crazy,
Factory
right?
level.
Yeah.
All the other ones were the arcade
that's right.
version.
No, I see it as more like just
the NES version, I mean.
company-wide. But then I feel like the closest thing to it to me was when folks saw that there's this is a slight spoiler for Uncharted 4, so cover your ears for all of 60 seconds. They had Crash Bandicoot in there.
Yeah.
And that was a very smart way to use that. I mean, not the best platformer in the world, but didn't matter. Like it's just that whole experience of like you playing a game through a game and watching people react.
I love doing that, especially because like you're doing all this other stuff in Animal Crossing that feels like it's like a world inside of a world. I really like all that.
But so in the new version, though, like we should clarify for people who didn't watch the Direct, it's not that you get a Wii to play Wii games. It's like the consoles that are in there unlock the mini games, right?
They added a Wii U console to this game.
But
I never found a Wii U console.
But what does the Wii U console do in that game?
So it unlocks the Animal Escape.
That's right.
Yeah,
So
Desert
it's-
Island Escape, and then if you find
it's
the
a mini
game.
game.
You can't like play Splatoon on this Wii U. Like it's
That'd be awesome though if
what's
it was just a
funny-
big emulator for a system six times more powerful.
really,
than it.
20 gig game.
Wait,
Can
but
I-
when you boot it up, I'll throw it to you in a sec.
Okay.
When you boot it up, you get a Wii U Splash logo.
Oh,
when
really?
you boot up the 3DS game, you get a 3DS logo on a 3DS that you're already
that's so
playing.
cool.
Yeah, just a small touch. Go for it.
I would like to say there's a little bit of an Easter egg for the fortune cookie when you get the Wii U. It says something like, "Great art is not always appreciated during its time." That is the fortune.
great
Oh,
artist.
that's great.
Yeah, it's a very passive aggressive message.
It's super, super passive aggressive.
That's great.
Yeah.
So
Very surprised.
Yeah. Are there? Because I haven't unlocked that yet because I haven't gotten too deep into this update like in my own game because like I said I had to start a new one. Does it have the NES games in addition, or is it just a Wii U and a 3DS?
It's just a Wii U and a 3DS and those two mini games.
Well, I guess they don't want to compete with the eShop, huh?
Well, I think the moment Nintendo realized they could sell those games for $5 to $7 each is when they pulled them out of Animal.
First
I was
they put
about
them
to
on a
say,
Game Boy.
yeah.
You know who to
yeah.
blame too.
Yeah.
There's only one person in the entire world who keeps rebuying every freaking NES game every time they're
Hi
released.
everyone.
And Nintendo like misread that data, thought everybody would
Everybody
do
was
that,
doing it.
and so
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
as I-
Thank you, Brian.
I screwed up. I screwed up big time.
As I was asking the question, I was like, "Wait a minute, virtual console." Okay, just kidding.
But hopefully that for me that'll signal that like Animal Crossing NX again they'll approach this as, hey, we can make our own themed mini games in here.
Yeah.
Like I didn't think I'd see Puzzle League again. Like I got to be honest, they had Planet Puzzle League on DS, and I really liked that game. It wasn't branded in any clever way with any characters, but that game was really good. Panel de Pan was off the hook. Like,
It's
that's
so
what it
cool.
was
I
called at
actually
one
like.
point.
I think we tried to do, or we did a feature on IGN a couple years ago about like the best games in games. Like basically when you're like open world games where there's an arcade and you walk in and there's a game you can actually play. In Watch Dogs, like there was an AR game you could play through your phone and stuff like that. I love
games
stuff
like
that.
Geometry
Oh, yeah.
Wars kind of started
yeah.
their life like that.
Yep.
Yeah. In the
right.
new Call of Duty, the zombies mode has an arcade, and you can play like old, like you can play Contra.
What?
Yeah.
That's so cool.
You can play like old Activision like licensed
That's
stuff.
super cool.
Oh
Yeah.
man,
I love
That
that
is
kind of
very
No, I
stuff.
love that stuff too. I hope that comes back, maybe even as kind of like a single level challenges or something in Animal Crossing. It would be really cool.
Yeah,
to
and we
get
didn't
that.
mention everything in this update. I think we were kind of rambling a little bit, but we had like there's daily initiatives. There's ways to get currency through that. There's the secret storage thing we talked about. There's a lot of stuff. So if you're interested in picking the game up, I'm playing it again. Are you all playing it again?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I'm back. Yeah, and
Yeah, I'm
I
gonna
guess
play
Welcome
it.
to hell.
Now that I watched the creepy camp killer video,
that was so strange.
I don't think I can sleep tonight.
Yeah.
Thanks for showing me that.
Well, it was weird.
I love
'cause
that.
I think that was the
No,
first
it's funny.
time.
I like it too.
Well,
Yeah,
to
but it was
me,
bizarre.
It was the first time I watched a direct, and I don't know why this never dawned on me before, but these are very much only made for Nintendo fans.
Yeah.
They're made for the product evangelists to run out and say, "This is in that game," and
But it's
be
also
this long
very
run-on sentence.
like it's very much like Japanese television. They're like TV variety shows in Japan where the hosts dress up in crazy costumes and stuff like that. And so it's that's what it felt like. It felt like just normal Japanese TV, quite frankly, where like people are fine with looking ridiculous and doing ridiculous things.
It ties in a lot to Japanese humor in general, which is often very physical humor. So it makes a lot of sense.
But Brendan on our staff, his wife watched it. Huge Animal Crossing fan, by the way, and she was honestly like, I don't know what this is. I don't know if I even want to watch this.
It's weird.
Yeah, it was 15 minutes to her. Like, if you look at the person who's not a fan there, like who's not a diehard, like I know so much about, I keep up with all this Nintendo stuff. It's just weird to see it have a negative effect, but I guess that's expected.
Well, I mean, it's like I feel like the last time I woke up at 7 o'clock in the morning to see insane people dressed as animals, I was 10. But it's good to come back to that because that's the way Nintendo always makes me feel.
So speaking of coming back to 10 years old or being a young person, on November 11th, Nintendo is releasing the NES Classic Edition, which is on this table. Sadly,
It's so cute.
it does not look like you're going to get to pre-order this thing. We've had our rants on this show about it. It does not
drives me
appear
nuts.
that is changing. Yeah, it's really. Some people are saying, "Is this a sign for an X?" I don't think it should be interpreted that way. Like,
No, but
I
you
don't
know
think
what
an
you know
X
what
will
is
launch
now that I'm
without it.
sitting here. That
Paradox,
the-
don't
Oh, we
damage
talked-
it.
Yeah. So what Brian is pointing to, if you're not watching the videos, there is a classics label across the top. And I feel like we've talked about it on this show. I just don't know if you've been here, Brian. But yeah, this is the first retro console Nintendo's made under a new label and basically a classics branding. Which that's why we started the SNES.
Yeah, no, I remember
Classic
talking
Edition
about
stuff.
that, but now seeing the Switch branding, I'm like, oh, it's kind of similar. It's this white silhouette icon with some clean text underneath
That's a
on
much
the red
better
background.
That's a much better brand than Virtual Console, honestly. Like if you boot up your Switch and you have a classic section, that would be really cool.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
yeah, totally.
I would lose it.
So 30 games. It is tiny. We have the original, the OG, right here on the desk. If you're watching the video, if you're not, you remember the dimensions, the product dimensions of a NES. And right now, Per and Brian are simulating what's going to be the point of frustration, I feel, for some customers who have large televisions or nice entertainment setups. And granted, anytime you buy a console, right?
Yeah.
It's where am I going to fit this thing, and it's you doing the math on what shelf it falls in. But this particular item has a very short wired cord. It's 2.5 feet. We measured it yesterday.
It's like it's like what you expect from a PC controller, like a mouse or something. Like if you were sitting at your computer and you're plugging it into USB, that's the general length you get. And so, I mean, you could hook up this device to your PC monitor, for example, and you'd be completely comfortable.
So I actually think that's kind of, they're going with two main scenarios here. One is that you're 10 years old again and you put this on your carpet and you lay on the floor and you play games like you did when you were a kid. Two is that you have this set up on your computer desk. And
That's what I was going to say, because it's HDMI.
It's HDMI.
I was thinking, where in my room would I put my desk?
Yeah, so it'll go. I mean, I have a desk at home that would be perfect for something like this, but also like that's not really the best place to play two-player games.
Yeah, I like a couch. I don't want to sit in my
I totally agree.
chair
So
I want to be comfortable.
There are some.
Pear's trying to make it fit in the drawer.
Yeah.
Don't
Does it
break
fit?
either of them.
No, not really. There are some. Who's playing?
close, though.
Who's playing Arch Rivals? Better than Ice Climbers. There are some things you can do.
Always going after ice climbers.
Quick digs, a quick shank.
Oh my god.
There are some things you can do to sort of rectify that. There's two companies, Nyko and I forget the other one right now, are selling two extension cables. They go for $10 each. The Nyko one is 6 feet. The other one is actually 10
from the Wii
feet.
days, right?
From the Wii days. They're actually brand new. A series of. What?
So I have something to tell you then. Hang on. No. So you can get the extension cable, but if you
those
remember,
are brand new peripherals, not
Hang on.
necessarily from the Wii days.
Oh no, I know. But
yeah.
regardless, like anything that was made as a Wii accessory has the same Wii accessory port. I'm sorry to
No.
get this exclamation mark over my head. They have a sort of a clear plastic thing that's on this part of the input. So when you plug this into an NES Classic, that backside actually blocks the Player 2 access port. You have to get like a screwdriver or something to take that off. Just saying, if you're buying an accessory, Brian's eyes are turning red. They are turning bloodshot. He's put his face in his hand.
Because I was saying this to you before the show, but being a Nintendo fan really feels like getting frequent flyer miles from your airline and then trying to spend them. It's like flying is amazing and it's great. And
Is it amazing? It depends on where you
Yes,
sit.
you get to go anywhere
me?
in the world in the sky. It's great.
Flight is.
It's a miracle. It's amazing we can even do it.
Just at my size, you're cramped and in like you're in economy class.
Economy
You're for the
plus.
flight
If you're a
to
Titan, you have problems, but as a pilot, he's fine.
You're in the extended
Pilot?
you're in the extended legroom club, my friend. You got to start ponying up some money.
I'm not paying for that. Continue.
What?
Continue.
Just get an
keep
aisle
going.
seat. My dad has to do that.
Yeah, then forever be cramped, and then
All right.
if you go in the aisle, you get that card.
Your joke.
It feels like having like free mileage to book a flight, and then they're like, sorry, it doesn't work on Tuesdays. These are our blackout days. It doesn't work on the summers. We only fly to certain areas. For everything Nintendo does, I'm like, that's amazing, perfect. Let me give you money for it. A, they're probably like, no, you can't, because you literally can't pre-order this thing. B, the cable's too short. C, the old peripherals block the second controller port. It's always like 2 steps forward, 1 step back with them, and it really bums me out.
Remember that day we got a question block letter that asked like, what's one thing you would change? And I started like short circuiting right in this seat as I was like going nuts about how why do cool things from Nintendo feel like they also come bundled with an apology? I think that's the same thing you're saying.
Did you guys see what just blocked the
That's
second
what
port?
I'm telling. Yeah, that's
But
what
do you
I'm
remember
telling
what this
about.
clip was from?
Yeah, it's to put the Wii remote strap through.
That stupid safety remote.
I mean,
Revenge.
There's this problem with the Animal Crossing update where in order to get to it, you have to go to the eShop and then go to settings other and then go to updates and then scroll to. It's like.
Oh, you can get it through the game too.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
But like, I didn't want to boot it because I was worried about my town, whatever.
Yeah.
But I feel like they do tend to have these good ideas that they bury in tedium or a confusing,
Yes.
like Para was saying, a not intuitive way to do something.
But sometimes it's because of legacy technology or legacy setup, right?
Sure.
Like it was hard for them to patch games in the past because of some decisions they made early on when they designed the platforms, right? And like in this case, I gotta think there's gotta be some reason why they thought this cable is long enough.
I mean,
I'll tell you why. Because you're supposed to hit the reset button on the
Yeah.
console to reset and pop out of a game.
So that's the notion. You
I
need
think
to have
the
a
thinking
long
was-
HDMI cable
Yeah.
and put it in
This
front
is why
of
I
it.
said that when I came back from
Oh.
that preview where we played it. I was like, I think that's the ideal configuration you're going to go for. A longer HDMI, power extension cable. But here's the thing. Do you want that stretched across your living room? Do you like how that
Yes.
looks? I don't like how
No,
that looks.
of course not.
I like how you said yes. And then you're
No,
like,
like,
no.
So I mean, you can't see this on my phone, but I'm showing you guys for reference real quick. I saw this picture going around the internet yesterday. On the right is the new controller, which is about what we measured it yesterday, 2.5 feet.
2.5 feet, yeah.
On the left is the original one, which is almost 2.5 times longer than this one. The one they shipped with the NES in the 80s had almost 3 times or 2.5 times the cord length on this. Wow. So I mean, between that and the fact that it's still, you can't, like, this should have been the ultimate sitting at the end cap at Target or Walmart impulse buy. This is an impulse buy that I've now thought about 75 times since it was announced 2 months ago. There was a direct on it. There was a day where there was a preview event where press was invited. Press were just sent their versions yesterday, which unboxing videos and impressions are over.
Yeah, we got
everywhere.
a good one on the site, by the way. You
That
should
is
check it out.
now, 3 or 4 very public-facing opportunities to put up pre-orders everywhere. I'm reading anecdotally that people's pre-orders on Target and other websites in Germany, all over the world, are getting canceled.
In some cases in Europe, I've seen that,
Yeah, because the people don't know how many units they're getting. Somebody wrote into NBC the other day saying that they talked to their rep at GameStop and found out they're only getting 6 per store. I mean,
6?
this is not a big box. This is not like it's taking up so much space, you know.
No, once
by all
again,
means.
it's a must-have item that, it's a kind of an item a lot of people want, but you're not gonna have a reliable way to get it, and
Right.
that's been the story with Nintendo hardware for a bit now. Just like the Pokemon Go bracelet that you went off on 2 weeks ago.
It's treated like a toy. I mean, you don't pre-order Tickle Me Elmo, right? It's like these kind of, you have every year there's this holiday item that parents want to get and where it's really hard to find. And so it creates this demand, right? Maybe they're banking on that idea, that kind of rush with a machine like this, but it flies in the face of how we want to buy software or consoles, of course.
No, but I mean, so I'll push back on that a little bit because I think the Tickle Me Elmo is a product of a pre-internet commerce time. That's the way you saw that fervor over that thing, was people were fighting in parking lots because you couldn't just go on Amazon.com with free overnight ship or same-day shipping.
You could buy it on eBay for $500.
Yeah, I mean, I just pre-ordered. I pre-ordered pre-ordered.
Day
I hope
shipping.
nobody did that.
I pre-ordered a Zelda toy a month ago. I pre-ordered the Link Between Worlds Figma action figure with all of its accessories, the deluxe version,
Right.
and it got to me the day that it came out. It just arrived. I paid for it in advance. I pre-ordered it. I do this through Amazon. I pre-order books and toys and all these kind of things. There's no excuse to not have this up there. No excuse whatsoever.
I agree.
Like I don't think this is like
even if the argument is we're not the target audience, right? Even if the argument is you've already played these 30 games, that does not matter. That has nothing to do with it. The
you
people who walk
absolutely
into
are
these
the
stores-
target audience. You're 30 plus years old.
I've already played these games.
Yeah, but
you still
even
want
that,
it.
But even that excuse is not a good excuse. And
Yeah.
we've talked about it in the show, like, oh, this is to stop pre-order trolls. No, because pre-order trolls morph into line waiting trolls
Yeah.
when it comes down to
It's
getting
not.
a
They
device.
can't. They can't make enough. And if you open it up for pre-orders, then it'd be a logistical nightmare for some of the retailers, or they'd be like sold out so quickly that everybody's mad again. And so maybe that's how they're protecting themselves.
But I
from
mean,
it, where
we-
the super fan is able to go and line up if they really want it. Like, I'm not making excuses. It's
Same.
like I bet if they could, they would make more of these, right?
I mean, I don't think it's a matter of excuse so much as it is a question of if it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Because, like, as a consumer, I don't feel entitled to it. I don't think you should feel entitled to the product or anything. It's just, is it a smart idea for the company to do this? No.
No. of
Well,
course
and
not.
you can look at the company's history. Even like when
Right.
Wii was flying off the shelves, Nintendo was not tossing out more Wiis like crazy. Like
No.
they were always very measured and careful about it. They've just always been a conservative company. But in cases like this, you can come back and bite them.
I mean, can we
and-
talk about the other thing, the pile of other stuff on the table? Amiibo. We had this conversation for 2 months straight last year. It seemed like they kind of
5 months straight.
5 months
last
straight.
year.
That's true. Thanks for listening.
2 months.
It seemed like they turned things around. They talked about the supply constraints. They fixed them for the most part, right?
And we lost the excitement, right?
Well, yeah, but I mean, I think that we lost the excitement when they started pumping out Animal Crossing figures that I
Right.
was less attached to than, say, half the Pokemon that I hate that I bought anyway. Let's not talk about it.
Look, exclusivity.
No one likes Jigglypuff. Nobody likes
What?
All right, we'll talk about this later.
A fight breaks out.
No, so and then they re-released Pit, they re-released the Animal Crossing Villager, all of the most rare amiibo got re-released, and they basically said publicly, "Hey, yeah, we know how some consumers had some problems with this. We made it easier for you, and now to reward you a year later, we will make this thing impossible." I don't understand that.
And the flip side of the you
But
first.
it'll be
Go.
fixed. I mean, like I believe like 30 days after this thing comes out, you walk into Best Buy and they'll be sitting there, and you'll be able to buy one. I don't think that's gonna be forever in the entire
30
holiday
days after this thing
season.
comes out is mid-December, where 95% of Christmas shopping, except for disaster people, is already completely done. And I know because that's when I go Christmas shopping.
And then I
It's
am
on my own.
I'm hoping the other big issue is gonna get resolved with Nyko, Naki, whoever is
Yeah,
out there,
no,
Pelican, making some that don't have the
So
plastic
Brian
clip
showed
on
me
it.
there's a company making a wireless adapter, basically that works in the Wii accessory port, and that the controller's wireless. The controller is also hideous.
See,
but
that's always the catch. But I
that's
want this
always
one.
the catch, by
Yeah.
the way.
Yeah.
When it's
Yeah.
wireless
pretty
and it's
one.
the NES controller,
let me
it
see,
is
can we break that
always
off easily?
reliably screwed up,
That plastic.
Brian.
When does this just become
That's
like
correct.
public domain, like Beauty and the Beast, where anybody can just make a version of it?
I don't think that's
Like the
gonna happen.
NES controller, people should just.
But it's okay because the plastic things are attached with screws, and if you have an eyeglass repair kit, you can take it off.
Okay,
Alright,
good.
So everything's
Good.
going to
Well,
be
you
okay.
also need that kit to take the back off your 3DS XL.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you
Your new
yeah,
3DS
if
XL,
you're an
sorry.
experienced Nintendo fan, you'll already have all the equipment you need.
Yeah.
Like patience.
Sorry, guys. This is a rough week for us in the office. I promise. Regardless,
We turned it on.
We did. We played a bunch of games on it. The review's coming up real soon. I will hint right now, the controller cord length is an issue.
Yeah.
Outside of that, you're getting a solid retro games machine.
I mean, like when you see it running on an HDMI screen, it looks awesome.
You guys had it hooked up to
So
a
sharp.
We had it on a
55-inch
4K.
4K
You
television.
have a
Yes.
4K TV. Yeah, I saw
I
you
was like,
playing
that
games
looks
on it.
great. It's
Oh,
really
man.
good.
And it's really nice, and just like your memories of these games are always better than what the games actually look like, right? And then you're now playing games on like sometimes an LCD screen that were designed for very different display technology where the colors are more vibrant. This is what we remember it like.
Yeah.
And it just looks really good. It's a great little device, I feel like, with some really weird really weird things.
I really want a SNES Classic now.
Oh,
yeah,
you greedy.
no, we've been building a
Okay,
list.
we'll
Yeah.
make one, but we
Listen.
will. The controller will be attached to
I
it.
cannot get enough
It'll be like
of
this.
Link to the Past because there's no Link to the Past merch. I just want a pink-haired Link figure.
Yep.
That's all I care about, and I want to be able to play Link to the Past again on every possible platform I can, and I want a SNES
completely agree with that. It's
His
one of the
hair
best
was
games of all
not
time.
pink on my
It-
old TV, by the way.
Oh, really? Well, you had a weird German TV.
No, that's those games were designed for those TVs.
Which
love
was
it.
Colors were off.
which was the one
It was
aspect
strawberry
of,
blonde.
of the
He's-
Nintendo.
he'd be perfect.
Yeah. This was the one aspect. No, it's okay. Of the NES Classic that is a little weird. Like we were playing on this huge television that we have in the office. How big is that thing, by the way? Do you know offhand?
Probably
Because there's a
60.
The
classic
4K one is
yeah.
65. It's
Okay,
not,
so
the others are
65
bigger.
inch, and we turned on the CRT filter that's on the game because there's 3 possible filters. It's the 4:3 and the pixel perfect mode. The CRT filter looks really weird on a large television. Like I just don't think the games were ever designed for that kind of play, especially when you have to sit so close to it. Like Sam walked up and he was like, "My God, you can see the scan line so clearly." And the only way you would see that on an old CRT is if you got like real close to the screen. Like, do you remember that?
Right.
So that's just something to throw out there. Not to say that's a deal breaker, just to say the larger your TV, the weirder that filter seems to feel.
And the shorter the cord, the closer you're going to sit.
Yeah. Just get ready for some
Yeah.
serious. Well, start troubleshooting now if you're planning on buying this thing. That's why we've been trying really hard to put the message out there that yes, the controller cord is short. Here's the reason why we think it's because the console needs to be close. You want to hit that reset button when you're doing what you're doing. You don't want to get up off the couch.
Sure.
Try not to have someone trip over all the wires that you're going to have coming out of your big TV if that's your situation. If it's on your desk, you're fine.
I'm concerned about your eyes. Please be careful. Don't get too close to the TV.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking to a generation of people with like VR headsets on and phones glued to their face, so they're doomed anyway.
Yeah, we are.
I'm in
done.
that party.
No, I got those nearsighted glasses because of the Game Boy days.
Yeah,
Well, and you got that Nintendo console repair kit that came with those glasses.
even little touches like this, I think, are fantastic.
Oh,
The
that's
lip
so
of
cool.
the box on
It
the
says
lid.
now you're playing with
Yeah,
power.
I mean,
little things like that are very thoughtful.
The design of this thing, aside from the cord,
great.
the packaging, just the whole bells and whistles, the UI, all of it is so gorgeous. I really love all that stuff. Perry, you joked about the controller being connected to the actual unit. That's the way the Famicom Classic is in Japan.
Yeah, it's actually you can't unplug it. It
Oh,
is
that's
hardwired
right.
to the
Yeah.
back,
Hardwired,
just like the
yeah.
original.
Yep,
yeah.
yep.
All right, so we're running out of steam, which means we're running out of. Well, we're out of time. Actually, this was going to be.
We got plenty of steam.
the-
Jose.
yeah, do we now?
Yeah.
Okay, I see
Oh,
nothing
yeah.
but steam coming out of Paris.
I'm ready for the weekend. It's been
too.
a long week, but it is only Thursday.
It's
Yeah.
true.
So
you run the place, you can take tomorrow off.
I can't.
I'm sorry.
There's
Aw.
stuff to do.
Man,
I'm going to
okay.
Vegas this weekend. I
Oh,
can't
whoa.
wait.
Sweet. All right.
sounds
Well,
awesome.
thank you for listening to Nintendo Voice Chat. We are a weekly show on IGN, but we're not the only show on IGN. Make sure you check out Anime Club. Make sure you check out Podcast Beyond. There's a lot of stuff for you here. You can also leave us feedback. Email us at nvc@ign.com. Let us know your experience, either feedback on the show or your experience trying to hunt down this NES Classic. Just we're curious to hear what your experience has been like, although I'm sure it's frustrating as much as ours has been. Lastly, you can
It'll
find
get
us all
better.
on what'd you do?
It'll get better.
I think I agree with you. It's just weird. I almost
It's like Amiibo. Like we all freaked out that we couldn't get that one Amiibo.
Yeah.
Now you walk into Target and it's like there's like 90 of them.
Yep. And that probably kicked in what, like May, June, like of the following year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well,
wait about
there's some-
7-8 months and you can get
Shouldn't-
one of these too.
Yeah.
Don't pay way too much extra because I paid $50 for a Rosalina amiibo. and
I did stupid
regret
stuff
that
like
choice.
that too.
There you
Anyway.
go. There you go. All right. Lastly, you can find us on Twitter. You can find Brian Altano at.
Agent Bizzle.
You can find Callie Pleggy at.
Inky Dojiko, INKYDOJIKKO.
And you can find Pear at.
Pair IGN.
You guys have very different deliveries.
Very. And lastly, you can find myself, Jose_Otero. Thank you so much for watching. We'll be back next week with more Nintendo Voice Chat.
Goodbye.
Bye.
See ya.